And so like that pattern to me tells me it's a guy that is flawed, imperfect, but wants to figure it out, just doesn't have maybe the skill set or the education to make it sustainable.
I am the last person who would ever excuse men who are toxic, abusive, or just basically fail to show up for relationships. But the truth is, it's worth exploring why men are the way they are, why men have been taught what they've been taught, and really how all of these gaps affect relationships. So I have an amazing guest today, Nick Matiash from The Evolved Man. You are a men's coach, which is amazing. Tell us a little bit about you and your business, Nick.
Yeah, so I've been doing The Evolved Man and coaching men and now couples also within their relationships for the last 7 or 8 years. And honestly, it started from a place of my own, not demise, but I kind of witnessed in a moment that my emotions were trapped within my body. And once I released said emotions and felt good afterward, I realized maybe I should do this more often. So I kind of went down this rabbit hole probably 7 or 8 years ago. It was around the time my daughter was like 3 months old, that I needed to work on these things. And then I started talking about them. And I have a history and past of being a teacher. So talking about what I was learning in ways that was accessible and helpful to other people became this thing that I get to now do as a profession, which is coach people on how to take care of themselves internally, but also to show up their relationships a little more intently. And kind of my emotional outburst, if you will, is my daughter was very cocky for the first 3 months of her life. And I was just the typical dude that didn't show it, tough it out, power through. And then I just kind of reached my breaking point and ended up in the fetal position, like crying my eyes out in our kitchen floor because I couldn't hold it in anymore. And then I felt great after I did that. And I went to my wife and I'm like, I think I'm okay now. And she's like, you were insane like 10 minutes ago. What happened? I'm like, I felt feelings and apparently I need to do that. So it just made me very curious about what am I missing? What can I do better at? What can I do more consistently? And the emotional intelligence aspect of the process, which is now kind of at the heart of what I do with men, is like I just needed to figure it out for myself. And then I just started sharing that. And now it just gets to be what I help men and couples with, is navigating all of those things. And it turned into a bit of a blessing despite the fetal position in the middle of my kitchen.
Yeah. Crazy way to get there, but good for you. And more than anything, I love seeing when people take something that happened to them, something they've experienced, and stumbling into a business, which actually I can relate to. But it's amazing to see your content. You know, for people that don't know who you are or follow you, like your content is so great. And I know that it sort of speaks to women inadvertently. You are trying to speak to men. And I love that because I think men need this kind of messaging and maybe even permission to just feel feelings. Like it's a crazy thing. We all have them, even men.
Yeah, it's true. Yes,
Yeah.
It's not just for the girls, it's for the guys too.
Right? It's for the guys too. We can all have feelings. It's interesting, men's take on feelings. I notice, you get called a simp or you get made fun of for having feelings or, don't be so sensitive or like bros laughing at each other and hurting each other in so many ways, that even like within male friendships. But I think that men seem to have this view on what it is to be a man or a husband or a father. And I really want to talk about like those 3 things as 3 different things from the perspective of a man. What do you think you have grown up to believe about what those 3 things are?
It's interesting. I have this kind of varied experience of that. Like my dad, excellent father, excellent human being, but he wasn't constructive about how to be a man. It was just stuff that I witnessed. He was present. He always was helpful. He was loving to my mom. Like I had an incredible model. And I kind of joke with my clients from time to time, like my dad showed me I'm here to teach and talk and educate. Because again, my background is to be a teacher. So I'm taking Keith Matash's work and turning it into tangible things that everybody can and now learn. So I witnessed that, which I'm very grateful for. But I'm also well aware of the societal stuff around what it means to be a man. And I think even myself took on some of that through osmosis of just, you need to be tough, you need to be strong, you need to not show your emotion. And then there's the layer of me that was very intentional about unpacking some of the stuff after I hit certain breaking points of understanding my emotions. And so I see kind of the clinical psychological impact of not working on your emotions. So there's there's so many different layers to it, both through my own experiences, but also through what I've learned along the way. And it's very clear what the healthiest option is, but there's just a lot of momentum behind the societal conditioning aspect, or even just, I know there's a lot of men that watched their dads maybe not have the representation that I had and the example that I had growing up. And it was much more like, suck it up. I don't want to hear you cry. Like, you're a man. We don't like pink. We don't like gay things. Whatever weird rhetoric is kind of just projected onto the sons of the next generation. I know a lot of guys saw that, witnessed that. And so it's much harder for them to grapple with the unpacking that I've been doing. Like, it was easier for me to go there because I saw a guy that was doing that. I just didn't understand it. Like, my dad was, I would say emotionally intelligent. He was present. He was the guy that I try to coach people to become and who I want to become, right? But he wasn't openly educating me on that through words. It was just actions. So I less resistance on my behalf, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But there's just so much
watching
there.
it.
Right.
Yeah, but watching it is so much better. I always say you can teach your kids anything with words, but if your actions don't match your words, they're actually more likely to match your actions. So you can say, like, help your mom with the dishes, but like, you're not helping mom with the dishes. So does he really think that he has to?
The interesting thing about my journey is, like, I'm very aware of the importance of feeling your emotions, talking about your emotions, articulating it. My wife and I have 3 kids and 2 boys. So I want to give to them all these resources and tools that I'm giving to my clients so that they don't have to go and do the work on their own when they're older. It'll be embodied. But what's funny is my oldest son, he's 4. I noticed within the last year that when he feels big feelings, he runs to the other room. He doesn't want to show anybody. He is like, no, I'm okay. He does the tough it up, like, very standard masculine approach. And I was like, why is that happening? Because I'm me. I'm the evolved man. Like, I know about this stuff, and we're very open with our kids about, like, feel your feelings, express yourself. Like, we'll figure it out, whatever. But it wasn't until I was watching The Lion King with my son that I kind of figured out why he might, through watching me, not realize that feeling your feelings is okay. Because there's the scene in The Lion King where Mufasa rescues Simba from the graveyard when the hyenas are about to get after him. And him and Simba and Nala had gone there without permission, and Mufasa comes in and saves the day and this whole thing. And Mufasa says to Simba, he's like, I'm very disappointed in you. Like, I told you weren't allowed to go there. He's like, I wanted to be brave and courageous like you. And he goes, Simba, I only do that when I need to be. Like, I'm always scared. I was scared today. You went somewhere that was dangerous. And like, there was this moment where Simba realizes that his dad is not a human, but like isn't just this strength and power. He's also this soft, loving thing that doesn't want to see his kid get hurt. I'm like, you know what? Whenever shit hits the fan in my home, like, he sees me calm, steady. I don't crack, I don't break, because I'm steering the ship of our family, right? Me and my wife are handling it. We don't want our kids to feel those things. So yes, we're feeling the tension, the anxiety, the overwhelm. And my wife and I can articulate and talk about that in private so that our kids feel okay. But my son never watches me sweat. He never witnesses me feel feelings. So when he stubs his toe, when he feels sad, when he feels scared, I'm okay. I'm fine. What do you mean? I'm fine. Because he sees me do that, So it's very interesting that I know conceptually this is the healthy thing. But at the same time, like, I do need to make my kids feel safe. And therefore, he doesn't get to see me with the vulnerability that is required to, like, model what it looks like. So I have to be hyper intentional about, like, listen, man, I feel feelings too. Like, I cried about this the other day. Like, I felt this the other day. Like, really breaking it down to help him understand, like, I'm not this big, strong, tough guy all the time. I am for you because I have to be. But, it's not something that, I guess I just assume that since I do this stuff for a living, that he'll just pick it up. But
right, but he's
in
only
real
4.
time, he's not. Well, he's only 4, but like, in real time, he doesn't witness me be the vulnerable, open, emotionally intelligent person that I am on the internet, or that I am in my work. He sees me like, steady hand. We're good. We're solid. I got you. Right. It's just very interesting, the play on that. When I saw my son just actively trying to reject his emotions, I'm like, what's going on here? You're supposed to be good at this.
Where did he do that? But, you're actually kind of talking about this interesting balance of being a father, being a man.
Yeah.
Men can show feelings, and fathers are carrying the weight and, being brave and moving forward. But how do you balance that? That's got to be hard. Like, I actually, as a raging feminist online, I can appreciate how hard it is to be a man. Shockingly.
Yeah,
I really can.
mean, it is. It's an interesting thing. And I wouldn't trade it for the world though. Like it is an honor to be the strong, steady hand for my kids and protect them and make them feel safe. And even at times, my wife's an adult and she can handle her own, but she's also an anxious person and she's a worrier. And she has referred to me lovingly as like her, my human form of Xanax. Like you steady me. So I get to be that for her. I get to be that for my kids. I love that. But I also know that I need support systems so that I can have spaces to feel how I need to feel. So I have my own coach so I can vent and get things off my chest and feel things with him. And my wife, when she's not feeling anxious, when she's not overwhelmed, is a very supportive human being and has seen me cry, seen me weep, seen me break. And so it is an interesting balance to navigate, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. I mean, I love that actually. And I love how your wife sees you because actually I really feel that way about my partner too. Like if I'm stressed out, he is where I can go to feel calm, which is not something that is common for me in previous relationships, but certainly in this one. And we talk about masculinity. I mean, he's helping me raise my own kids, one of which is a boy. And I think so much about what my son is learning, what is a man, what is a husband, what is a father. I heard somebody online just sort of really differentiate, like these are three different things. And if you hit 18 and you're a man now, suddenly you're capable of being a man, being a husband, being a father. That's just not true because you need to learn things. I think with men, what it is to be a man, this is obviously my female perspective on it. When boys are little, they're socialized so young to hide their feelings and they're socialized so young to not throw like a girl. I think about all these little kid examples, but how that translates into not liking women. And why can't men like women? Why can't we be friends? It's bizarre,
Yeah.
but I get it. I get the conditioning that happens, but how does that hurt men? All of that childhood conditioning, how does it hurt men when they're older?
Well, yeah, I think there is a layer of, like you're saying, this disconnect or feeling like we need to be separate or even sometimes hating women. Like, I don't want to be like you. Like, you're not me and I'm not you. And yeah, hey, cool. Apples and oranges, we're different people. We're all humans, but we have different approaches. Like, I'm cool with that. I think the biggest thing that I've witnessed in terms of that conditioning and how it harms men, and I say this all the time to my clients, like if you think about like a thoroughbred horse, what they are raised to do is to run fast. And like that's their job. That's what they've been raised to do. That's what they've been trained to do. I think a lot of boys and then men are trained on stuff your feelings down. I don't care. Move, be strong, do the work. And as they get into manhood, make the money, take care of the family financially. Like all of these very old school values, even if it's 2025, they're still here. They're still around, right? And so thinking about that thoroughbred horse idea, like you've been trained for this one thing. This one thing, and it's not racing for us. It's basically be a physical specimen. Do the work with your body to make money for your family. Be strong. But everything else outside of that is not really a priority. So ignore it, right? And so then they grow up and they get into adulthood and they naturally find people. They meet people. They fall in love. They build families. And the way that I refer to it is like emotions are the language of relationships. Like if you don't understand your own emotions, you're not going to be able to like engage with people in a meaningful way. You're going to feel like at an arm's length, right? So if you spent your entire life, 25 years of your life being told, understood, like my job is to move, make money, do those things. Emotions are over here, don't care about them, they're not important. And then you get married, you fall in love. Like there's a conceptual part of you that's like, I love this person, I care about this person, but you don't have the language. You don't have this emotional intelligence skill set of like, oh, I feel anxious and that's why I'm reacting this way. And maybe that's not her fault after all. Maybe this is me. Or as I say to guys all the time, the more you understand it for yourself, the more you'll see it in others. So like, I understand how I look and feel when I look overwhelmed. So when I look at my wife and I'm like, okay, something's happening there because I know what it looks like. I have an idea because I've processed it on my own. And so like, I think that is the greatest deficit that happens is there are well-intentioned men that really do want to build beautiful families and love their wives, but they get to that threshold of like, okay, I do care about this person. I said I wanted to commit to a lifetime with them. I don't know how to make this work though, because I don't know how to connect with them. I have very a low bar, a low skill set of like, how do I make her feel loved? How do I make my kids feel appreciated? How do I do all of that? And so it's a lot of catch up. Like most of my clients are 45, 50, 55 years old. They're waking up to the realization that I've tried everything. I've tried making more money to make them happy. I've tried taking them on vacations to make them happy. I've tried buying a nicer house, moving to a nicer school district, going across country and doing cool stuff. Like all the things that are in the wheelhouse of what men think are really cool connective things. I've tried all of it. it didn't seem to work. Your stupid TikToks have opened my eyes that maybe there's something else there. And so now they're like doing this retroactive, like, okay, there's something I'm missing. It seems to be this emotional element that my wife keeps talking about, and I clearly have not had enough capacity for. So here I am trying to figure it out now. I would love, and I've had conversations with like younger guys too. I love when I engage with like a 20-year-old or a 23-year-old, and they're like, I want to figure this out now. I'm like, dude, cool. I'll give you a discount. I'll cut it in half. Like, let's do it.
Amazing. Yeah. Get them
Right?
while they're young. Yeah.
Because there is so like 98% of my clients are older than me, have spent more years in marriage than I have, but they're recognizing that skill set that I'm able to articulate fairly well through my content. They're like, that's the thing that I haven't tried, and it seems to be the biggest gap I have. And I think it's mainly due to the conditioning of like, who am I supposed to be as a man? And we just leave out these emotional elements that have a huge say in how your relationships go. And it's sad to me, to be honest with you.
I completely agree with you that it's sad. I feel like all of those things that you're describing, I hear so many men in my comment sections popping off about like, I've tried everything and nothing I ever do is good enough. My audience is women who've been in toxic and abusive relationships or are in one currently. And you always hear the same thing, like, everything I try isn't good enough. And this sort of, I want to call it playing the victim. There's two types of men, of course, the ones that really do feel that they're doing their best, and then some that are just absolute liars and abusers. And I do want to separate those two groups of people. I think you deal with men who are open. I deal with the men who are not open. Women need to be able to sort of tell the difference. But I think men who just immediately like, I'm trying everything and she never listens and nothing I ever do is good enough. A lot of what they're trying is transactional, buying the house, spending the money, taking them on the vacation, providing, and so on. But you're not involved in your relationship. You are not participating in your family, in what you signed up for. And women feel alone. And men think women are just nags and like bottomless pits of wanting emotions. But how do you bridge that when you talk to men?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of hit it on the head there, because I receive a lot of pushback in comment sections from men as well, as I talk about like, hey, mental load's important, or emotional intelligence is important, these things that are pretty foreign to a lot of guys. And they'll say like, I've tried everything. And they usually list them off. And it's like, oh, I work 70 hours a week and I take the kids on vacation twice a year. And I like, it's tangible. Their list is all tangible things that they can do with their time and their energy, which is fair. But none of what they've listed is having the emotional courage to look across at your wife and lean that way instead of just focusing on what can I do? What boxes can I check? And I've said this to plenty of guys, like, here's a list of things that you could do that I'm sure would be appreciated. The most important thing that you need to do within your relationship is do the uncomfortable work of connecting with your wife over here, rather than doing all this stuff out here in the world and bringing it back to her and saying, are you proud of me? Do you like me? Do you love me? Like all of that, nobody's going to say, please stop working because I don't like eating, or I don't like you providing for our family. That's not a thing, but you can do that while also, pouring into asking how they're doing, trying to be vulnerable and open up to them or be supportive of how they're doing. Like all of that can still live in the same space. And I think a lot of guys just feel very justified in those tangible items because it is a lot. Like it is a lot for me to run my business and to take the kids to school and bake dinners and do dishes and do all these things that I do happily for my family. I could very easily check it all off and be like, I should be appreciated more. No, I'm not going to play that game. It's not fair. So I think, it's mainly getting them away from the tangible things and asking like, what intangible work have you done with your wife? Have you checked in with her and seen how her day's going? Have you opened up to her and talked about your stresses and your overwhelms? And there are like real stories from guys that I think, there's a layer that we'll maybe get to here where because men have been so stunted in their emotional capabilities due to societal conditioning, women walked through the same society and watched the men around them, the boys around them, be conditioned in that way. So there is a little bit of an element of they don't expect men to be emotionally capable. And so when a guy does bring their emotions to the table, obviously in a healthy way, because we're not shouting, screaming, punching walls, that's stupid. But like if you do talk about like, hey, that what you said kind of hurt my feelings, because there's a lack of expectation or feeling like guys actually have emotions that would be expressed because we've got a long-standing record of not expressing them. A woman's ability to hold space for a guy's emotions sometimes is a little wonky. And so it's a little muddled in terms of like, I'll tell them like, just go tell them how your day is going. They're like, I've tried that. And then she told me to man up and get back to work. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not fair. that's something there that we need to work on. It's
Read.
a lot, you know?
The reasoning behind that, and like I'm never going to blame women for men not being able to share their feelings because it does track back to the patriarchy, but we all live in this patriarchy, as you pointed out. So yes, when men say things like, I share my feelings and she doesn't accept it, she rejects it, I think that sometimes men are perceiving that and it's not what's happening. And sometimes men are right. But again, can we step back and look at we are all participating in a system that hurts men and women? I would argue, I don't know if the patriarchy hurts men or women more. Like it hurts them in such different ways. I think, if you're speaking about violence, sure, I'm sure it hurts women more, but emotionally, the impact is hurting everybody. Men often want marriage and want kids, but then they have negative feelings about women, negative feelings about relationships. You hear so many men like, this is why men are choosing to be single, but and citing women's lack of accountability or women's entitlement. I find that astounding sometimes when I see these comments, because to me, the entitlement is more often than not always, coming from men. The entitlement that just like, I'm 30, I should have a wife and kids. Why not? I have a job. What does that mean? Are you the man that Nick is describing here, right? What have you done to earn that?
Sure.
And why does anybody have to earn a good partner? We should.
Yeah. I think the entitlement comes from like, I did the job that society told me I was supposed to do. So where's my reward for that? Like I've done the thing. I've got my big boy job. I've got a house and I've got a car and I'm stable. So I should have a viable partner. They should be lining up around the corner. And cool. But like to keep a partner and to have a sustainable, meaningful relationship, there is a set of skills that are needed. Going back to what you were saying about like there's these three categories. There's man, husband, father. There are plenty of good men that are terrible partners. Like if I meet them out in the world, because like hopefully they don't watch it, they probably won't. I have friends that if I called them at 2 a.m. because I had a flat tire or there was an emergency. I live an hour and a half away from most of my good friends. Half of them would get up out of their bed and come and be there for me because they are supportive and they take care of their people and they're good men. But do they know how to sit in a hard conversation with their wives? Maybe not. Do they know how to, carry that mental labor and load and understand that there is a place where we can allocate a little bit more effectively so it's not weighing all on our wives, right? Probably not. Like it's not just I do good things and I'm not a terrible person and I don't cheat on my wife, so I therefore am a good husband. Like no, good husbands are intentional and they are purposeful with what they're doing, not just around their wives or for their family, but like directly to your wife. How do you show up for her? How do you pour into her? And it's like an interesting phenomenon that like you get so caught up in like, I am a good man. I'm not a criminal. I am a good, good citizen. I take care of the people around me, but like doesn't mean that you're good with the skill set of being a partner to a person. And I guess I'll be beating that drum for the rest of my life.
You probably will. But it's so interesting though. You're touching on something so interesting with what I see in men of like, I have the job. I'm not a criminal. I dress okay. And they sort of rattling this off as if those attributes entitle you to have a partner and to have children with someone when women are looking for more. This whole thing that you hear a lot of men like feminism is ruining the world. Women want too much these days. Women used to basically want nothing, or I actually want wouldn't be the right word, but we weren't able to necessarily have it like way back when you didn't have rights, you couldn't have a bank account, you needed it. I think the difficult thing for men now is that women don't need men for shelter, money, and so on.
Yeah.
And so you have to want them. And this whole thing of like, what do I need to do to be desired by someone? I mean, even when you're talking about physical intimacy, how do you, quote, make her interested in this with you as opposed to just you're entitled to it? What makes a man a good partner? If you could list like, I don't know, 3 skills or just a handful of skills that men need to be a good husband specifically, what do you think those are?
I mean, the first one is the ability to, how do I say this? The ability to hear feedback without either running away from it or getting defensive and responding. Like I use this analogy all the time because a lot of dudes watch sports. But the best athletes, baseball, hockey, football, like the ones that all the dudes revere, like they have their jersey with their name on the back and they cheer for this guy every Sunday or whatever. Like the reason that they're really good is because they're able to hold the tension in difficult moments when everybody else will fold, everybody else is going to run away from those moments, everybody else is going to like freak out and not be able to perform. The best athletes, the Hall of Famers, they hold the tension and they respond thoughtfully, purposefully to whatever needs to happen, right? And so I explained that to them, like, you revere this guy on Sundays when you watch football. I need you to bring the same energy to the conversations you have with your wife, because the tension she is presenting to you, it's feedback, it's critique. And is it landing perfectly? Is she delivering it with such grace that it's impossible to? No, she's human. She's messy. Everybody's messy. But like to your point, like the skill set is, can you hold the tension? Can you hear what she's saying to you without feeling like you need to attack back or shutting down and running away? Because that is what sustains relationships. You're going to disagree. You're going to have some feedback for each other. You're going to have to, figure out some stuff. And more often than not, the guys that find themselves in chairs opposite me as a client, one of the main things that they can't figure out is I'm always defensive. I'm always ready to respond. I'm always like justifying my actions. Like that, being able to just take a step back, breathe, and respond and have a conversation rather than making it bigger than it needs to be or running away. That's a skill set that, benefits in life, but in your relationship specifically. So that one's top of mind. Second one is, it contributes to the first one, but emotional intelligence. It's good for you. It's good for your own processing. So you're not carrying the weight of the world around, or at least perceiving that you have to. But to what we were saying before earlier, you will be able to see and witness it within others once you understand it for yourself. It's just how it works. So if you work on yourself consistently enough and thoughtfully enough when your wife is feeling something, or if your daughter's feeling something, son is feeling something, instead of doing to them what you do to yourself, which is shove it down, act like it's not a big deal, gaslight. Men are the gaslighters of all gaslighters when it comes to their own emotional experience. They're overwhelmed and stressed. No, I'm fine. It's not a real thing. And so since they do that to themselves, when their wives are feeling stressed, it's fine. What are you doing? So like that, removing that is really just understanding your own self. Because the only knee-jerk response that is required, or the only way that actually happens to push back and to gaslight your partner when they're feeling something, is you don't know how to feel your own stuff. And it scares the hell out of you. So if you can get better at feeling your own stuff, you're probably going to have a better chance at giving them space for their own things. So those are top two. I'm sure there's more things in there, but those are the top two.
Yeah. And those are massive, I would say, but what I see when I'm talking to women about their, and again, it's abusive and toxic relationships, is they don't listen. Like you can give him feedback and he flips it on you, blame shifts, all those things. So that is a really good sign, in my opinion, that this person is not capable of being a good husband, at least not right now. And if they're not changing when you address it, I think that's a really good sign that they're not even interested to change. And for me, I don't like investing time and energy in a person who is not interested in change. If you don't want to do better, like a man who's like, okay, let me take that, let me think, let me hire a coach, let me go work with Nick. That's a good sign. But somebody who's just like, no, shuts it down and always tells you your feelings are ridiculous when they do it to themselves as well, which is kind of interesting that men do it to themselves. And that's maybe even what makes them do it to their partners. That's
sure. If you're scared
terrible.
of your own emotions, what are you going to do when your wife is feeling frustrated, annoyed, stressed? You're going to try to convince her that what she's feeling isn't real, or blow up the situation, get angry, so it never has to be talked about again. Because as human nature would have it, if you get aggressive and angry every time someone feels something, like they're not going to want to share that with you anymore. So you've done yourself the service of not having to deal with it by teaching them that you're not a safe person for that, which is tragic in its own right.
It is. Do you sort of see that almost as self-sabotage in some ways? Like men are sabotaging their own relationships by clinging to these, stoic, outdated roles that men have, toxic masculinity, which harms men, let's be clear. But then they blame women for being unhappy. They blame women for nagging.
Sure. It is a form of self-sabotage. It is interesting. Like there are so many guys that present traits that I would say are, toxic masculinity. You're doing the old school stuff. You're feeling like she should take care of all this stuff. That's women. But when I get to know them, like I can tell that genuinely they love their wives. they care about this person. They care about the family that they're building. Like that is, I think that's what gets lost in the minute-long videos of the internet, like you and I are both partaking in, but like there's nuance and there's context that's beyond the talking points. And there's these guys that come in and hang out with me, or even ones that I have conversations with after they've been a little flustered in my comments, and we take it offline. And I'm like, you genuinely care about your person. And everything that you're doing is sabotaging the relationship. And the reason that my content triggered you is because you can see it and it pisses you off. And that's fair, but let's figure out how to actually solve the problem instead of making me or your wife the enemy.
Yeah, that's huge. My God, that's so important. You've had me think of this question here. Where would you say you personally draw the line between a man who is immature, a man who just doesn't know any better, who I'll maybe even say is toxic, but willing to learn, versus
Sure.
an abusive man who just chooses not to care and will never be different?
And it's tough. I kind of lean on the mantra of like, trust the pattern, not the person. Like if there is a long-standing pattern of just like no glimmers of hope, no nothing. I was talking to a woman yesterday who was interested in doing some couples coaching. And I was like asking her about the patterns of their marriage and how willingly he would show up to things and how just like different things. And there was like a good 10 years plus of dismissal, no acknowledgement, no appreciation, and all of this stuff. And like that, to me, like when you have a timeline where the pattern is the pattern is the pattern, that's where it's like, okay, like that is not healthy. And I even told the woman I was like, listen, I have some resources that I can give to you that I would say like explore it. But one of two things is going to happen after you do it. You're either going to know that you want to fight for this marriage, or it's going to be very clear that you can't and you shouldn't. And my gut says it's probably the latter. My hope is that it's not. But based on the patterns, it seems like there is no way out for him to change that because he is this person and he's not willing to see it differently. But whereas like there's plenty of guys, I talked to another one today where there is intermittent patterns or desires to change and figure it out, but their humanness and their conditioning kind of forces them to come back down and anchor back down into old stuff that's not helpful or useful. So like the pattern usually goes something like this. Their wives tell them that they're unhappy, that they think that if we don't figure it out, we got to leave. We got to leave it, right? So the guy's like, okay, I do care about you. I'm going to figure this out. And then it's like a hard sprint for 2 to 3 weeks, a month, 2 months. Life comes at them. Work gets busy. Kid stuff is chaotic, as we all know. And because there's stress and pressure from life, you kind of default to the patterns that are easiest to access. So he goes back to being a little bit more distant, not as communicative, not as these things. And so now we're at the bottom of the roller coaster again. And she says, "Hey, again, I'm not happy." He's like, "Oh, you know what? Okay, got it." And then he's locked back in. And so like that pattern to me tells me it's a guy that is flawed, imperfect, but wants to figure it out, just doesn't have maybe a skill set or the education to make it sustainable. Whereas a guy that has no willingness, that will always find a way to spin it so he's not the one that has to do any of the work. Like, not that I don't have any hope for them and not that I wouldn't help him if he got in a chair and wanted to do the work, but like I don't have time and patience to force him to be ready for it. That's something that life is going to have to confront him with, you know?
Agreed. And it's interesting. You don't have the time and patience. The wife may also not have the time and patience. Although I do think that too many women have patience, like endless degrees of patience for men who say that they want to do better. Like I love this analogy that you're using, this sort of roller coaster, but I think where there's like, it's tricky, right? Especially you are coaching people, you're not in their marriage.
Sure.
There are men that say they want to do better and go, "Oh yeah, you're right. You told me that bothers you." And then they come back up, but they're never really going to change. They're not actually trying. I think
they're buying time.
The way for women to know that is the pattern. What you said, the pattern. If it's constantly, "Oh, I'm going to try better, try," and it never, you rarely see. I don't want to say never because some of these women are like, "No, but he really did seem nice." In an abusive relationship, the niceness, that kindness that we sometimes see, it only exists to facilitate the bad. It keeps you trying and trying. I wish there was like a timeline of like, keep trying for 6 months or 3 years, or there's no number. You got to go off a feeling. But I think that women have a little bit of intuition enough to know like this guy's not going to change. And men can change and people can change, but some people are so stuck in their entitlement and just so stuck in their view. And it benefits. A lot of abusive people benefit from their abuse. So why would they ever stop? But it does benefit them to pretend. You got to
Yeah.
look
No, I
inside
mean,
yourself and really.
I've also witnessed and worked with a lot of guys that have changed after that there has been a pattern interruption, aka divorce or separation or something. And I have said this to plenty of people, and I think you kind of just was dancing around it too. Like women are a little more, if we were to generalize, a little more intuitive. Guys are more tangible and concrete oriented, right? And so I have said to plenty of women that have like come for a couples consult with me, I'm like, I hate to say this out loud to you, but there's a lot of guys that won't change until there is some concrete thing that has disrupted their day to day. Like if you're still sleeping in bed next to him, if you're still in the home with him, if you are still acting and going through the motions of like, we got to get our kid to school, we have to get our kid to practice, since his tangible life has not changed and he has to make arrangements to adjust to this new tangible thing, there's no reason for him to wake up to it because of that lack of intuition. Whereas there's, women or just more emotionally intelligent people that can kind of see the writing on the wall. And maybe they don't want to trust it. Maybe they don't want to jump into, making a change if it's not there yet, but you want to change it before it breaks. Like there's plenty of more women that are willing to seek therapy, seek counseling before there is incredible damage within the relationship because they can see like things aren't going well. I want to prevent. Guys are more reactive. It's like we've crossed the threshold of she wants to move out. Now that she's got divorce attorneys on her phone, now I know my tangible stuff is changing. Now I'm ready to do something. And it sucks. It's terrible for for the women for sure, but for the guys too. Like, can you wake up faster? Like there's this person
Like,
that you
just
say you care about.
It's right here. It's infuriating that
Can't
they
you
don't
see
see
it?
it. Yeah. But,
Right.
we say this a lot. Like, there's a consequence leaving. She leaves you. That's a consequence. When she's laying next to you, and I say this to women all the time, you don't make him change in the sense that and I'm not blaming women. Please hear me. This is not women's fault. But women do this, that
Sure.
we're like, maybe he's traumatized. Maybe he's toxic. Maybe he needs a therapist, a coach. So you try and you keep trying. But as you keep trying, you lay next to him and you tolerate and enable some of this really bad
Sure.
behavior. And then one day you
Uh-huh.
decide to leave. Suddenly he wants to change. I think, again, there's this sort of thin line of like, is that the thing that woke him up? We want to think that some men can have epiphanies, which some do, but there are some where they only beg you back after you threaten divorce or file for divorce because their life has now been interrupted. Now there's a consequence. They didn't care when you were crying. Now it affects them. Now they care. That is an abusive man, in my opinion.
Sure. And no, I agree. And the tough part is like there is no way to explicitly tell which one is which. Like, is it the real guy that's like, okay, well, I need to change. I need to figure this out. I clearly have been doing some wrong things. They'll come and hang out with me. Like they know that they can't do it on their own. They know it's not just a flash in the pan that I need to change for this month and she'll come back. Like if you're going to hang out with me, you're going to hang out with me for a while. Right. So those types of guys, maybe there's that significant, I'm going to do this thing differently to show her, demonstrate to her that I want to move differently. But in either case, like that wake up call after the fact of some tangible change, it looks the same to if you're an abuser that's just buying time, or if you are not and you're genuine and you're like, oh, I'm an idiot. I need to figure this out now that she said she's leaving. Circumstantially looks exactly the same, unfortunately.
It does. So I tell women though, like to make this decision on your own. If you continue to see not trying in action, then this is not a toxic man. It's an abusive man. I think toxic men or even good men who are misinformed or don't have the right tools are men that come see you. Toxic can change. Hurt, traumatized, that can change. Abusive, they're not going to change. So you'll continue to see that pattern. I think women are waking up to it the more I'm making content and
Sure.
other people are making content. But I'm just happy that content like yours exists so that men have access to that to see what a good man looks like and how to treat your wife and how to be happy and how to be for him to be happy. Like I want that for men because if they're happier, we're all happier in my view.
I know. Like I try to argue with them like, hey, like, listen, the things that you have been told to chase your whole life. So going back to the whole tangible thing, okay, like make money, cool, check. Have a house, kids, family, beautiful wife. I have all these things and I'm happier because I am emotionally intelligent and pour those things into the people and things that I care about. So at the end of the day, what every guy that I've ever met is chasing, like I have, and I'm not saying that makes me cooler or anything, but like, it's not an accident. It is cause and effect. Like I was doing this for a long time and I cared about it enough to pour it into the people that I care about. And so I have great kids. They're fantastic. I have a wife who loves me, is obsessed with me, and that's her words, not mine. Like, it's
And
not.
she's so beautiful. Holy
Thank you.
hell, your wife is beautiful. When I gasped when I saw your wife online. I was like, God, holy hell, she's beautiful. Good for you. But that, to me, I'm like, that's what the simps get, right? You're a simp, right? So you
Yeah.
have a beautiful wife and a beautiful marriage and wonderful kids and a great business. And you're like, sure, call me what you want. I'm happy.
I'm okay. I'm doing fine. No, it's so funny because they'll just, they'll see all the things that we've just kind of spoken to and like, yeah, she probably walks all over you.
Yeah,
Whatever
mine gets
helps
that
you
too. She
sleep at
walks
night.
all
I'm
over you.
completely fine. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Whatever, man.
it's wild. But so on that topic of what men say, I'm going to take you to my
Yes.
little segment called Real Talk from the Comments. I'm going to read you
Oh, I
3
can't wait.
comments. This is from my comment
Okay.
section. I know your comment sections look similar, so let's get into the
Yeah,
first one.
sure.
This whole idea that men need to be more emotional is ridiculous. The world doesn't need more sensitive men, it needs strong ones. If women want therapy, they should go to therapy instead of trying to turn their husbands into their girlfriends.
That's funny. Okay.
Like, what do you even say?
Well, honestly, so I think the first sentence says a lot in terms of misperception. So he's right. Like, nobody needs an emotional man. They don't need a guy that's weeping and crying and like is controlled by his emotions. Like, I'm angry, so I'm going to yell. I'm sad, so I'm going to cry. That's an emotional person. And there's nothing wrong with emotion as it is, but emotionally intelligent and emotionally disciplined, or whatever you want to call it, like that is different. And we need more of that. Emotionally intelligent is, I'm feeling this thing. I'm aware of that. So I'm either going to take a 5-minute break and go process that so I don't project it onto my wife, or I'm going to like remind myself I got to come back to this and figure it out later tonight so I don't, say something I regret, or I need to apologize because I came off a little hot there and that was my bad, not hers. Like, that's emotionally intelligent. Is that emotional? Am I crying throughout my entire day? No. But that subtle difference of like, we don't need emotional men. Okay, I agree. We need emotionally intelligent men. We need guys that can hold space for their wives and go to therapy. And then I've said this in videos too. Like, therapy is not about fixing you. It is not about making you like bridging the gap between your brokenness and you being whole. It's like, here's some tools that will help you navigate life a little bit more purposefully. That's all it is. And if we could see it like
Why isn't
that
that a
instead
good
of
thing?
like, right, why do we have to push back on that? That's weird. That's weird.
Right? Be better. Why
Yeah.
should I have to be better? I know, it's
Right.
it's wild.
Because I'm good enough. I'm fine.
Right, I'm good enough as I am, exactly. Next comment is, fatherhood is not complicated. A man provides, a woman raises the kids. That's how it's always worked. All this new crap about men needing to be nurturing is just feminist nonsense.
Oh man, your comments are
love
great. It's fantastic. So there's like a similar element of what I see in comments sometimes where it's like, well, can't we just go back to the old days? Like when, marriage lasted for 50 years and like this, what was wrong with that? And I've made videos in response to like the reason that happened and marriages lasted as long as they would, because women stayed for survival. They weren't allowed to work. They weren't allowed to have a bank account. They weren't allowed to have their own home until literally like the 1970s. They couldn't get a mortgage without having a man next to them. And so like that dynamic or that dream world, and I mean, I know you're in Canada, but I'm in America. So like the whole make America great again, like it's all it is turning back time to a time where women didn't have these things that make them capable and not needing a man, but wanting one, which I think is a beautiful thing. I'd much rather my wife want me than need me and see me as a resource in her life.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I completely agree.
But that element of like fatherhood is simple. Like it is, but it does involve nurturing. Like I don't want my kids to grow up and just see me as a paycheck or see me as the guy that holds the key to our house. Like I want them to see me as I see my dad, as I spoke about earlier. Like he was present and he took care of us. And to this day, I live an hour and a half away from my parents. The other day, my sump pump in my basement went out and he's like, I'll be there in like 2 hours. I'm like, you don't have to do that. I'm 37. You don't.
He's still nurturing you.
Right. He's like, oh, you have
Like,
a problem. I'll come help you solve it. Like that's who he is. And that's what fatherhood is. Does it look like nursery rhymes and like singing Kumbaya? Like that concept is so warped and weird. Like that's not what nurturing has to be. Can it be that? Sure. But is that what it looks like in real time? No.
Maybe it's different for men. Like I think my partner, who is not my kid's biological father, but when they get sick, he's the one who goes and gives them medicine and like cuddles them. And that's an amazing thing. I love that he's teaching them that men can be nurturing and men can be protective and men can be providers. Abby Eckel, another content creator, has often said that men treat themselves like the paycheck, right? Like, oh, I'm not doing the dishes, I make the money. I'm not raising the kids, I make the money. And then they get pissed off when men, or when families rather, treat them like they're nothing but money. It's like, you made yourself nothing but money, and then you're mad that you're being treated like nothing but money. Men can and should be so much more than, and feminists, I'm a raging feminist. I get called a misandrist every day. And I'm like, men are so valuable in society. Like, I believe that. I believe that men can do better, should do better, so that we can all enjoy men, women, men, everybody, and have them safely participate in all of our lives. But then there's men like this third comment.
Oh,
which,
let's do it.
Which is interesting, actually. I'm realizing that these two comments have a lot of similarities, but it was left by different people. Back in the day, the good old days, back in the day, women knew their role. Now, all they want to do is complain that men don't do enough, but half of them can't cook anyway, and they want men to clean too. Men haven't changed, women have. If women would actually support and respect their husbands instead of nagging all the time, marriages wouldn't fall apart.
Interesting take. I mean, I feel like most comment sections are just like the angry comments are just projection of their experience, right? Like it's when he says they can't cook anyway. Like, okay, who burned a meal in your past that you're frustrated about? Like that, is that really what we're hearing about? Or is it every woman that you've ever met can't cook? Like these weird or
blanket statements,
like the extreme language.
Just...
Yeah, like they, or this generalization of sorts. It's very strange. But yeah, what was it? Did he say? He said, men haven't changed, women have. Is that
right?
What the quote says?
Yeah,
like,
men haven't changed, women have. I actually agree, though. Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem, sir. Like that's
face
the
first
big
into the
issue
point,
here is,
right there.
Right, it's right there. Like, and it doesn't. I try to like draw this line often with men. Is like, yes, we're talking about toxic masculinity. Let's remove that. But masculinity, and I know I've talked about Lion King already today, but I made a video recently, like masculinity, like good masculinity is Mufasa. It's strength and it's power and it's, I'll take care of you. But it's also like this loving present, like he can be goofy with Simba and play and take care of the kid, right? And then there's Scar. Scar is toxic masculinity. He believes that he deserves things without working for them. He believes that he has a right to the throne. He is willing to literally burn it all to the ground to have what he wants, right? And so toxic masculine, we want to get rid of that. But like nobody's coming for the Mufasa. Nobody wants to get rid of the strong, present, purposeful guy. And I can't believe that so many guys are willing to be like, no, I need to be the toxic guy. Let me be the toxic guy. Like that's nobody, you don't need to be that. You can be better than that.
And it's not working well for you. That's the part I don't get. Like you are alone and mad about it. Like you're think about the incel, right? Like involuntarily, meaning you don't want this. And yet you're just so convicted in it and you demand that this be it. It's not working for you, bro. Do better. Change.
Well, the thing is like, I think the real crux of it is when you are in these spaces where you're angry, you're lonely, you've been wronged, maybe a woman did do you wrong. And I've had conversations with men who have been trolls in my comments and they've DM'd me and I've had these conversations. I'm like, okay, that sucks. Like that genuinely does suck. And I feel for you. I'm not dismissing that pain, but I need you to understand that it's not everything. Like that's not totality of existence. There are women out there that are beautiful, that are nurturing, that are fantastic women. And I promise you, it usually is a mirror to who you are showing up as. Like if you're going to be this guy that's, I want it this way, I'm a man, give me these things. Like you're going to get a woman that, and to your point about what Abby kind of said, I've made videos that like, if you argue for the conditions that you provide, that's how they will treat you. Like if you like, I took you on this vacation, I created this lifestyle, of course they're going to see you that way. Like if you present as a certain version of yourself, you're going to be met with someone that mirrors that. And so, when these guys are lonely and frustrated, they have to find an enemy. And rather than making themselves that enemy and looking at like the parts of themselves that need to change and evolve, no pun intended, they find somebody outside of them. And, they cling to rhetoric that justifies and makes them feel good about that being the enemy. So like, that's why, the Andrew Tates of the world and all those other guys that are in the manosphere and doing the incel stuff, like they have an audience because there are guys that are in pain, that are lonely, that feel like they should have connection with other people / women. And since they can't quite crack the code on that, they're pissed off about it. I need to be pissed off at somebody over there because I don't want to look at me. So I'm going to be pissed off at the woman that told me that I should change because I'm not ready to do that yet. And so we just keep exacerbating the problem.
Yeah. feels so hopeless sometimes, but I view your business and I view what you do and what you speak on. And there are other men like you in the sense that are good men that speak about it online.
Sure.
It's so necessary. And, we joked earlier before we hit record that I wish these ended up on the man's FYP, the man's reels, not always women. I wish more men saw your content. But regardless, I think that it's amazing what you're doing. And thank you for your service. I think it's so necessary. And, the more men that speak out and speak about what you speak about, I think that it's going to do amazing things for relationships. Men really learning what it is to be a man, a husband, a father, and how you can show up. Men are not a monolith and nor are women. So I just appreciate everything you do. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Let us know where to find you. What's your website and socials?
Oh, man. All the socials are at Nick Matiash. My last name is goofy, so I'm going to spell it for you. It's NickMatiash. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the places. And then you can usually find me other places by clicking things there. So I would start on social media and then branch out from there.
Amazing. Perfect. Thank you so much, Nick.